Proverbs 24, verses 15 through 18. Lie not in wait as a wicked man against the dwelling of the righteous. Do no violence to his home, for the righteous falls 7 times and rises again. But the wicked stumble in times of calamity. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased, and turn away from his anger from him. Wednesday morning, when I was on my way to work at that lovely 6:30-ish, 6:40 time frame in the morning, the sky was actually, it was partly cloudy, but there was more sky than clouds. And the sky, the clouds that were in there had that wonderful pinkish hue in them. And you were sitting there driving down the highway. It's always my favorite time of day because that's when I talk to God the most. And it sets things up just for absolute standards for having a good day. As I was driving down, I got up close to the Smelterville exit. You know how that skyline works. You know, you got that stop and it's got that one big dip and then it has the rest of the stuff in the background. Well, right there in that dip, just above it, I looked when I was driving and I was like, well, Lord, what in the world is that? And it was the cloud was in the shape of the United States. You could see Florida, the shape of it, you know, like you would see on a map. You could see the little stuff in between, and you seen the dip for Texas, and then it went around, and you didn't see Baja. It didn't have that little skinny line for it, but that went up. And the little bit of stuff that was a little cloud below it was all nothing. And the clouds above it that would have been Canada, it was like, it was just dissipating type stuff. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, God. And then I noticed a pitch black cloud right about where D.C. would be, Washington, D.C., all the way up to New York. And I stared at it. And I was like, well, this is almost like an affirmation of what I'm talking about this morning. And as I got a little closer to the exit, of course, all of a sudden, you know how clouds do. You see something that's really cool and it dissipates. Even the black cloud went away. It all dissipated. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I've never claimed to be a prophet. Never really, even though it's one of the things that we should strive for. But I knew that this was an affirmation of the message we're going to bring this morning, because I'm not real big on talking politics when it comes to the pulpit. But there's things that are taking place since the election and that day, and things that have taken place since then that has made me think heavily about the unity of both our country and the church itself. Where the country is concerned, we have 2 powerhouses that are fighting. They're trying to take control of everything. We got one side that is really stronger than the other and keeps making covert and overt threats to the other. They have this juggernaut behind them, this big giant threat. The other side appears to be strong. However, when it comes to right down to it, they have a tendency to back down on pretty much everything that happens. They say and tell you, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and then they get in power, and then it's like the one side says, ha ha, watch and see, and the other side goes, oh, we can't do that. The people will think terrible of us. And so they back down and give in to the demands. And they have done so for so long that we have come to kind of expect it. We come to expect it. Where the church is concerned, last election in 2020, 30 million Christians did not vote. This time they did. And it really made me think about the things that have taken place since then, since that election. One side won, the other side didn't. And I figured with all the garbage that was spoken ahead of time, that it would settle down, because it usually does a little bit. And it hasn't. It's intensified. We have people that I work with that are on the losing side, and they are miserable. And they tell you just how miserable they are because, well, we did not elect a woman. And how terrible that I am because I voted for the side that won. Oh, how could you do that? He's such a horrible person. And it doesn't matter how calmly you talk to them. They still throw and call you names. They still say that how terrible he is and that he's going to do this, he's going to do that because the juggernaut has told them that he's going to do these things. And it's like, but he was in office before. Did he do those things then? Oh, well, no. Well, then why do you think he's going to do it now? And the reasons just fly back and forth and back and forth. And when I was thinking about all of this and that giant juggernaut in the background, it brought me to, of course, the story of David and Goliath. Jesse, his father, sent David to go visit the battlefront where it was taking place, and he wanted to hear news because the way they fought in the old days, it's hard to comprehend. Here we gather up everybody, once a year, and we stand across from each other in a valley, and we yell and scream, we beat our shields, we beat our weapons together, and then we walk up to fight each other, and then we don't fight, but we might back up, and we do it day after day after day after day, before the battle actually takes place. When David got to the front line there, he wanted to find out from his brothers what was going on. Dad said, here, take all these things there and give them out so that people, you're showing a thing of good faith. David heard Goliath yelling and screaming the things that he did, mocking Israel and their God. And David was brave, and he volunteered to fight Goliath. Now, David's not very big. He is strong, though. He is strong, but he's not considered a man yet. He's still too young. He persuaded King Saul to let him fight and decided not to wear any of the armor that King Saul said, here, take my armor since you're so willing to do this. And we'll get over that in just a little shortly when we get through the verses. David carried his sling and gathered those 5 smooth stones. Goliath laughed at David. Laughed. But David responded that even though Goliath had a sword and a javelin or a spear, he came in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel. And David put that rock in the sling and swung one of the rocks and hit Goliath in the head. The rock sank into the forehead and he fell, and David then picked up Goliath's sword and cut his head off. Cool. This familiar Bible story reminds us of the courage in men's hearts when their faith is placed entirely in God. Goliath taunts David, but David's faith becomes evident when he does not cower under the threats, but instead warns Goliath with the hand of God. The armor he rejected from Saul represents man's strength, while David chose the armor of God. Let's actually look at this story a little closer. And like I said, we're going to do a lot of talking of politics today, and we will throw some church stuff into it. But there are things that are taking place that I am concerned about. And I know that some of you are too, because you've heard it from the prophets. Expect the worst. 1 Samuel 17, verses 3 through 7. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had a bronze armor on his legs and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and his shield bearer went before him. I always liked that. I always liked that. You got this, what is it with the people and their shield bearers? Yes, I'm the one that has all the armor, you're the one that carries my weapon, so you step out in front of me. If they attack, they're going to take you out first. And if I decide to fight, I will. If not, I will run away. A cubit is 18 inches and a span is 9. Goliath was about 6 inches shy of 10 foot tall. Like I said, this is actually to scale, only it's not the full body on it because that would be really difficult to put up. It'd probably weigh just more than I could pick up while standing on a ladder. And you've got two sides fighting for power and control over their own destinies. One side is actually perceived as stronger with a huge threat backing them. The opposing side is actually strong but a little fearful. You can put this from that political point of view. You know that the side that is strong is the Democrat side. That wonderful great big D. Or they think they're strong. And they have the thing, they've got this huge juggernaut behind them. They've got the media, they've got the deep state, they've got, you name it, they've got it behind them. And they can say whatever they darn well please, and this big juggernaut will back it. And will say, attack this way. And they do. The opposing side, like I said, is actually strong but a little fearful. And you can even sit there and think about that. We talked about it just a few minutes ago, how no matter what the D side says, the R people go, oh, well, we can't do that, even though that's what we promised to do, because if we do, it might make them mad. I personally don't care how mad they get. And that's what I told the folks that lost when they attacked. I personally don't care how mad you get and what you call me and how you treat me, other than I'm your boss. Don't get too stupid. But I think that God is the one that's in control. He's the one that's sovereign. And He put who He wants into place. From a Christianity point of view, Christianity is attacked by non-Christian entities across the spectrum in those non-Christian groups. Either way you look at it, it's the same idea. You've got your LGBTQ group that says, well, you people are outdated. You just don't understand, and your God is not strong. Obviously not, because He made a mistake, and we are the way we are because He made a mistake when we were made. We know better. You've got your other non-Christian groups and religions that are always attacking. And this is why I pray for Stephen all the time, because he's dealing with a Muslim population that, for the most part, when you read what the Quran says, they're supposed to get rid of us because we do not believe like they believe. 1 Samuel 17, 8 through 10. He stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, why have you come out to draw up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. Taunting, name-calling, and lying about each other and what they represent is nothing new under the sun. Nothing. Even in today's times, there seems like this is a never-ending thing. We're Nazis. We follow Hitler. We are scum. We believe that women should have no rights. We believe this, we believe that. Now, Now, I've known you guys for a while. And we have basically the same thought processes and beliefs. And I don't think that I've ever seen you go around, Heil, or saying, here's my knife, I want to take away, you can't get abortions, you can't do this. I don't believe that I've ever seen us attack. I don't think that I've ever seen us go out to any group and say, you must bend to our will. I don't think that I've ever seen us go to any group other than to say, I really don't think you're quite right in your thinking, and I would like to talk with you about that before we are shouted down and chased off. All of the rhetoric that is spewed has caused some major damage in our country today. Like I said, I was really shocked, even on the election night, all the stuff on TV that just, oh my goodness, it was like, the stuff that I heard. And it only got worse after the election, which is still not over, unbelievably, because people don't know how to count and they're pulling things out of their rear ends and going, oh look, we just found another 5,000 ballots for this person. None for you, but for them. It's just a good thing that the House races ended when they did. When you are referred to in all of these negative terms, and at the top of their lung it created assassination attempts. To proclaim that anyone voting one way is, for any number of reasons, makes the other side homophobic, xenophobic, and desiring to turn all women into handmaids, even haters of things that are considered good in one opinion side. How come? And I always like to ask this when I'm being yelled at for this type of stuff. Well, how come what I believe is wrong and what you believe is right? I remember when I first started working for the school district, there was a guy who, his name was Steve. And Steve was a really interesting character, and he was a hardcore Democrat liberal. And if you got together during summer cleaning, and the first time I met Steve, everybody says, oh, don't talk to Steve about politics. You'll wind him up, and he will never shut up. Well, I don't know about you, but that's a challenge for me. I mean, it was, I'm a Rush guy when he was alive. But you see, I also had the advantage of staying calm when discussing these types of things. And I remember Steve, I said, I hear that you're a hardcore liberal Democrat. That's right, I'm a hardcore. And I think of this, and I'm thinking, I'm going, wow, now wait a minute. So you're telling me, and I know his son is a cop in Kellogg. So you're telling me that I understand you like guns. And he goes, yes, I do. I have several of them. Well, do you think that there should be limits on ammunition? Well, no, that's really stupid. Then you cannot be a hardcore liberal Democrat. Do you think that abortion should be at any given time? Well, no. Then you cannot be a hardcore liberal Democrat. Let me tell you something. Now, y'all, this is where we might have a little separation. Because I don't think y'all are hard right conservative folks. I think that I told him, everybody, whether you like it or not, says there's some things that Democrats think and do that I kind of agree with. Not very many, but there are some. I says, in all reality, we are all independents and we lean one way or the other. And people were trying to kind of run you. I see that head going, no, 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 no. But it shut him up, and it made him think. And we never talked politics the rest of the summer. It was the most peaceful summer everybody said they'd ever had. Okay, well, I was kind of disappointed because at that point in time, I was still kind of a young pastor and a rabble-rouser, but all right, no fun for me. 1 Timothy 6, 3-5 tells us, if anyone teaches a different doctrine and does not agree with the sound words of our Lord Jesus Christ and the teaching that accords with godliness, he is puffed up with conceit and understands nothing. He has the unhealthy craving for controversy and for the quarrels about words, which produce envy, dissension, slander, evil suspicions, and constant friction among people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth, imagining that godliness is a means of gain. Don't think that the other side is innocent of this kind of speech either. Because in the last week, I have heard conservative Republicans attack even nastier than what they have. Mm-hmm. And it's just bad. The point is, when the side that is perceived stronger with a huge threat backing them, it creates fear and unsurety for the other group. So therefore, if you are upset with me because I think one way, and it's not like you think, and you are from the side that lost, and you bring out your big juggernaut, and you're going to try and beat me over the head, it's going to create a little fear. And when you're afraid, what is it that you do? You fight back in like terms. 1 Samuel 17, verses 13, 28, and 29. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had followed Saul into battle. The names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, the next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, "Why have you come down, and with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." And David said, "What have I done now? Was it not but a word?" You see, when David got to the front and he heard Goliath, he couldn't believe it. All of Israel was standing there trembling and backing up, about ready to wet their armor. And he's like, "What is the matter with you? What's going on? Why are you not going on and fighting this guy? Oh man, look at how big he is. He's hardcore. He's tough as nails. He's a hardened, seasoned warrior. And what do we have? What do we have that compares?" We need to remember that David is the youngest of 12 sons. And it was not that long ago, really not that long ago, when Samuel was told by God to quit moping over Saul and go where he would show him who was to take Saul's place. 1 Samuel 16, 11 through 13. Then Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all your sons here?" And he said, "There remains yet the youngest, but behold, he is keeping the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and get him, for we will not sit down till he comes here." And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. And the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he." Then Samuel took the horn of the oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David from that day forward. And Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. David's brothers were present. They were present when they were brought one by one into the room in front of Samuel. And Samuel says, "Nope, not him." The first brother that came in, Saul was all excited. "Oh man, look how tall and strong looking he is." But what did God tell him? "Nope, not him. You look at the outside person, I look at their heart, not him." And all the other 11 brothers are paraded in, and each one, "Nope, not him, not him, not him, not him." And all these 11, when he asked Jesse, are there no more sons?" "Well, I got one, but what is he?" "He's nothing but a little shepherd guy. And you know how shepherds were viewed. Low of the low." "Well, go get him." And he's the one that gets anointed in front of them. And this would have created a situation similar to Joseph and his brothers. "Oh my gosh, well, what do you mean you have these dreams? You think we're ever going to bow down to you, you little puke? Heck no, I'm your older brother and we're going to whoop up on you, you keep this junk up. They were jealous and had an attitude of, I will never follow him. They ended up selling Joseph. And here his brothers are going, what the heck do you think you're doing here? You're nothing. You're not even big enough to be called up to stand with us to fight these guys. Which, by the way, if I'd have been David, I said, but you're not fighting them. Let the truth be told. One man stands up and refuses to be taunted by the bully. Notice what really took place and see if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Here's an innocent guy, a righteous individual, a guy after God's own heart. He's been anointed. He is the future king. And what happens? He's amongst God's people, Israel, and he gets turned on by his own. Do we see that in the churches today? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you're doing something that we don't agree with. You're teaching something that's in the Bible that we don't fully understand. So therefore, we're going to chase you away and we're going to belittle you until you do go away. See, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. We've got an elected leader who has told everybody what he's going to do. He comes out, and I love how he's made his appointments. It's like Dan Bongino says, it's just like rock'em sock'em robots. When you were little and played with them, you know, you hit them as fast as you can into the other guy's head, goes, whee! And he's dropping one name after another, and here's a meltdown. You can't, oh my gosh, so they don't know where to stop and look. They don't know where to attack, but they're having meltdown and meltdown and meltdown. Oh, you people, you just don't get it. He's a convicted felon. And you elected him? How could you do that? Look at who he's going to pick. It's going to run the country into the ground. How dare you do that? Even the Republicans, when he started dropping names, he got them the Senate, he got them the House, and he won the presidency along with the popular vote. And the Republicans said, well, we're not going to vote. We're going to vote no on that pick. It's like, how in the world can you do that? How can you even think of that? The way I heard it all week long is, it's so interesting when you got these weak-willed people that will not back the leader. You'll vote for all the garbage that they had for the Dem side. You got your lovely Rachel Levine and the other Fruit Loop in the blue dress. Oh, you'll vote for them and say, yep, we confirm them. But you won't confirm the people, you're saying you're not going to confirm the ones that are going to be stand up for the country and bring it back in the right direction. Oh, we can't do it. The Dems might get mad.
They already are.
Who cares?
Not just mad, but mad.
I mean, think about the lovely thing with our wonderful senator from New York. Republicans, I'm telling you, we're going to hold the House, and when we do, we're going to ram all this junk down your throat. And when he finds out he lost, and by a lot, oh, wait a minute, oh, we have to have cooperation on all the bills that pass. You really need us. Go away. Just go. Why don't you just retire? The same with the Nancy Pelosi, running around doing all of the TV shows. It's Joe's fault he didn't retire in time. We were going to have a primary, but he refused to retire. Now, they put Jeffrey Hakeem in charge of the Dems in the House. And he's being nice. He's being nice right now, and he's being a lot nicer than I would have been. I'd have said, shut up, you old bat, sit down and get out. I'm the one in charge, not you. I'm not afraid of you. One person speaks up and has caused enough fear that he gets turned on. Proverbs 12:26, one who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Oh, God, dude, you can't fight him. You're not man enough. You're not big enough. You're not strong enough. Think about the fights that take place in politics. It doesn't matter who's in charge. When the big R makes a stand, the other side starts all the blame game ahead of time, applying pressure with that huge threat. Look what they're doing. They're going to take away all your rights. They're going to do this and that and the other. And pretty soon you've got almost half of the country raising Cain. Without fail, they turn on each other and give in to whatever the demands are. And David's response is wonderful. Because what did he do? When you think about it, what is it that I have said now? What have I done? And he ignores his brother. Mm-hmm. He turns around and continues asking the question. What is going to take place to the person who kills this person? 1 Samuel 17, 32 through 37. And David said to Saul, because when he started doing all this talking, the people said, hey, man, Saul, you got to hear this guy talking. And Saul says, let me bring him to me. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth. And he has been a man of war from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep sheep for his father. Now, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute, David. You used to keep sheep for your father. I think that you still do. I think you still do. And when there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he rose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. And David said, the Lord who delivered me from the jaw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. I get tired of hearing people tell each other what they can and can't do. The king, the head of the army, telling someone you are not able to do this because you're too young and inexperienced to succeed. Proverbs 29:25. The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Over the years we have read and heard about people being able to do the impossible. To be able to do the impossible because of their faith and their strong reliance in the Lord. And there's that old saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. What this phrase is saying is that the situation in which people need to be productive, you have several possibilities. The first of these is you can lead the people as a leader. Like that song said, I'll be a leader. The second of these is that you can be a follower and do what the leader instructs you to do. The phrase is saying that both leaders and followers have important roles in life. If you're not going to be a leader or a follower, get the heck out of the way, because all you're doing is hindering what is taking place. It does not matter how old a person is when it's a God thing. Saul tried to give David his armor. Now, if you remember right, when the Saul was first picked, why was he picked? Because he was a head taller than the tallest dudes around. He was a big young goofball. Wasn't very responsible. And here he is, the leader, the king of Israel, a head taller than everybody else, will not stand out. And I've got a feeling that Saul was probably a little over 6 foot tall. So say he's 6 foot tall, he's still almost 4 feet shorter than this big dude. Plus, he's lost the anointing of God. I wouldn't face Goliath either if I didn't have the anointing of God with me. If I knew that I didn't have God's power backing me. David, on the other hand, is still considered a youth. And probably a lot smaller than Saul. Saul says, here, take my armor. Well, I almost brought up some pictures of me when I was 16 years old. I was about 5'8", weighed 130 pounds soaking wet. You could see my ribs. You can't see them no more. I put a little girth on since then.
To find them.
Yep, I grew in, up, and out. But if he put them on, it would be like the movies you see where the young kid puts on his dad's clothes. It's all baggy and you can't hardly move in them. It's the same situation. And so David said, no, dude, I'm sorry. I can't fight in this stuff. I need to do what I need to do on my own, just like I was brought up and know how to fight. 1 Samuel 17, verses 40 and 51. Or 40 through 51. Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine, and the Philistine moved forward and came near to David with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, come to me and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword and a spear and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have denied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord serves not with sword and spear. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. When the Philistine rose and came and draw near to meet David, David ran. He ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in the bag and took out a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead, and the stone sank into his forehead. And he fell on his face to the ground. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone. And struck the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath and killed him and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. What do them prophets keep telling us? What do they keep telling us? Oh, all of the deep state, all of the mainstream media, all of the other stuff that's hidden behind the scenes that's backing the wonderful Democratic Party is going away.
Yep.
They are dropping hard and heavy. What do you think is going to happen when they lose that strength behind them? I guarantee you they're going to run away. They're going to run away as quick as they can. The time is coming where that huge, powerful threat of a great giant will be defeated once and for all. And when that happens, we need to stop and try and heal the land and unite the people. You see, if I'm not mistaken, we're supposed to be trying to unite the country right now, to bring us all together as one nation under God. And that's hard to do when no one wants to listen. No, I cannot like you because you think different than me. When that juggernaut falls and we get that chance to actually try and reunite the people of the land, we need to stop and try and heal the land and unite all those people together. 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and heal their land. Wow, that's a heck of a promise from God. I think he laughs watching all this stuff, even though he's sovereign and he's the one that helps put people in place that he needs them in place. He punishes in a minor way by putting people in like what we've dealt with the last 4 years and the 8 years of the Obama character, where things just weren't quite right. But this last set of stuff and circumstances where everything just went haywire. Oh my gosh. You don't believe in DEI? Oh my gosh. You think that boys can't be girls and girls can't be boys? Oh my gosh. What's the matter with you? You are sick people. God was showing us, teaching us something really big. The election that just went through is an opportunity to do this very thing, to heal. The giant is still spewing garbage and trying to stay alive. It knows its time is close to being over. Just before the election took place, Amy told me she read a story about a lot of people that said that, well, if he wins, I'm going to kill myself. And I'm raising my hand to let you know I was a horrible person. Because I said, well, if they kill themselves, then they will get their wish because a part of the population will be decreased. And Amy chastised me. That's not funny. That's not funny. It saddened me, though, when 2 days later I found that over 2,000 people committed suicide.
3.
Oh, it's up to 3 now.
3,000. It was 3.
Was it 3 then? Okay. And within the next 2 days after the election, it was like, oh my gosh, you killed yourself. Why? I didn't understand it. Probably never will. 1 Samuel 17, 52 and 53. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron, so that the wounded Philistines fell on the way from Sharaim as far as Gath and Ekron. And the people of Israel came back from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their camp. The victory has been won. Those brave hearts and minds are celebrating that victory they were too afraid to participate in. That feeling never lasts too long, though. Instead of savoring the moment and being thankful, the same thing begins to happen over and over again. That winning side, instead of being gracious, the winning side is starting to taunt and make accusations about what the other side is and what they believe in. Creating division instead of unification. Will we never learn? I'd like to close with the continuation of the opening scripture of Proverbs 24, verses 17 through 22, so I want to back up one off of it. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased and turn away from his anger from him. Fret not yourself because of the evildoers, and do not be envious of the wicked. For the evil man has no future, the lamp of the wicked will be put out. My son, fear the Lord and the king, and do not join with those who do otherwise. For disaster will arise suddenly from them, and who knows the ruin that will come from them both. Go out. Be a David. Be a David. Stand strong in the Lord. Don't fall into the trap of fighting with the other side. Go ahead and try and be unifying. Don't take that bait. Know that they're going to be going away. Be afraid of nothing, because God has your back and will make you victorious in the endeavors you take up when it is for the glory of God. Be that person that is after God's own heart. Let's go to prayer.